Good afternoon, everyone. This is Dr. Diggs. It's another slushy one out here in the Pacific Northwest. We are snowed in, so what an appropriate time to be talking about Winter Vinera. We're going to be focusing on the differences between her 120 and her level 99 form, and why you would potentially want to pull Winter Vinera, even though she might not be the best in the upcoming EX world. I think there's a lot of people who are just writing Christmas Vinera off the list. They're just like, okay, Christmas Vinera came, Christmas Victoria, she's my waifu, at least in my case. And they're just like, Christmas Vinera, you're out of here. You're gone. And I think that's a mistake. Christmas Vinera is actually a very powerful magic resistance unit with some very unique capabilities. And she also is very viable for the raid that does give you the Santa coat. You aren't familiar with what the Santa coat is? It does give evasion plus 29, an additional evasion plus 10 from the box skill, and you get light resistance on yourself. So if you want to be successful in this raid, if you're someone who is like, I want to run, full evasion and be fully prepared for the future, Christmas Vinera is actually a must pull for you, because she is literally one of the only units that is viable in that raid. So something to consider, something to think about. The raid we're going to be talking about in particular is the Christmas Flan. So if you're on the JP side of WoTV-calc, you can pull this page up. You can see here, weak to earth, weak to fist, 25 to slashing, just, your pretty standard raid bosses, agility debuff resistance, the usual thing, right? So just be aware of that when we're talking about Christmas Vinera, because that alone could be a deciding factor for a lot of people to actually pull Christmas Vinera, right? The capability to actually do a raid successfully and easily in order to get one of the best evasion pieces of gear in the game, where in global we have a significantly different evasion meta than JP does, could be really viable for a lot of players. Let's get in and talk about the specifics between the differences of her 99 and 120 though, because it's actually not too bad, and I actually really think that Christmas Vinera is a good pull for anyone who wants to have a unit that is pretty reasonably good at being a magic tank, or potentially if you're playing PvP wants to counter Yuna or other magic users in the future. Now let's look at her mastery ability. Of course, she gets the HP up for Earth allies, attack up for Earth allies, and increased attack 20%. TMR, not that good. She does have access to Subjob Ninja and Spellblade, which is going to give her access to really great movement passives, agility passives, and some really great magical resistance. Let's take a look at her stats here. Now, this is probably the most surprising thing about Christmas Vinera's difference between 99 and 120 is that her agility does not change. And this is so important. Being like, if there was a huge agility gap between level 99 and level 120, going into the 120 meta, so to say, would actually be really problematic, because you would have units that are effectively the same as MR units, but they're maxed UR units, because they don't get a huge agility buff. So the fact that Christmas Vinera's agility does not change here between max level 99 and EX is huge. You can see here, 35, 35. Her board stats up to level 99 does give agility 5, which is great. She gets no agility from her EX board stats. You can come down here, her EX ability or jobs does not add agility. So really awesome, really cool. I am personally like super stoked for this, because it means she will still be viable against EX units. And I think that's the thing a lot of people are scared of, right? Is that if you pull Christmas Vinera, she's not going to be viable, she's not going to be useful, because her EX is going to be delayed until next Christmas, and you're not going to have a use for her. Now, one of the things she does miss out on, as opposed to her level 120 form, she is going to be missing out on 4 defense here, 22 luck, which will help with her evasion and accuracy, and her luck is actually pretty high, so you could probably even throw her into some type of evasion composition as well. Her passives that she gets, or her buffs that you can pick from the ability board, I do think this is actually pretty substantial, increasing max damage 2000 for self and increasing AP 20 for self. When you think about how much of a difference 20 AP can make in terms of starting AP, not initial AP, but starting AP, right? It could be the difference between using an ability once and using an ability twice. So if you are someone who's really passionate about making sure that you can use a certain amount of abilities in a row, or if you're wanting to run her in raid without having to put bells on her, which most people probably would put bells on her, but something to consider there. I don't think it'll break her, but I do think it'll be one of those situations where you will notice that 20 missed AP. Let's talk about her passives and her counters and abilities here. WoTV-calc has a great way to see this on the JP side, so I would definitely go check this out. It is what you're seeing on screen. The Go Boost Fighting Spirit for her passive. The upgrade did give it defense penetration 30. I am not sure this is going to be a huge thing to miss because, again, it's only defense penetration 30, and you have so many other passives that you're going to be able to be setting on her. Like, let's be honest, you're going to be setting Shikuchi no matter what on her. Like, if you're not setting Shikuchi, like, you're probably crazy. You do have also Shadow Running, which gives the agility 12%, luck 12% for her. And then you also have Lightning Blessing, which gives magic resistance up and lightning resistance. So there's so many good passives that I really don't feel like you're going to miss out on that defense penetration on that passive. Now, her counter is a little bit different here because you can see that her counter basically gives like a huge increase in damage, and it also gives a huge increase in activation. So a 50% activation on a melee counter when you're doing PvE content can be really powerful, especially if you're in a raid. Most recently in the latest Siren raid, for example, utilizing Nibbles' counter and Frederica's counter was really good against Siren. I think a lot of people set Reflex because they were like, oh yeah, you set Reflex when you raid. But actually having like counter shot set actually added to the damage that really helped to clear down the Siren that I was fighting. So I think people underestimate in PvE the chance to counter and the percentage proc rate and the amount of damage it does. So it is a little bit unfortunate. I don't think this is going to affect you very much in arena or PvP because you're probably going to be setting Magic Guard for that chance to get a 45% magic barrier on her. In terms of her active skills, she is going to lose Destructive Shock, which is pretty big, I would say, for her. It basically is an attack with 3 range that lowers defense by 20 and decreases healing power 50 for 3 turns to target. Losing out on the defense lowering ability is always going to be painful. She's also going to be losing out on the enhancement of Demon God's Strong Arm, which is going to give essentially a 35% modification in damage. So her max damage potential is going to go down. I think a lot of her being used, though, with, for example, a Paladin, or sorry, Spellblade sub for magic resistance, I think that has not really been hampered at all. So I think we're going to see a lot of Christmas Vinera more as a magical tank, less as a damage dealer. She's going to be focused on surviving, getting in there, drawing fire. And I think that's the primary role that we're going to be seeing from Magic Vinera. Now, let's go ahead, and I did draw up a potential build for Magic Vinera. And the reason I did this is I wanted to highlight just how high you can get her magic resistance. Very similar with Dwayne, I feel like. I feel like there was a lot of hype around magic resist Dwayne, and that never really went anywhere. So I'm really curious if we're actually going to see magic resist Vinera be implemented at all, because it does actually give her some really good power against magic compositions. And I think she's one of the more powerful Spellblades we've actually ever seen. Now, if you look at her base stats here, 4,289 HP is pretty good. Her starting AP is going to be 21. So remember, we are missing out on that plus 20 AP from her 120. Attack 704 is actually really high. You can see I just threw on Fenrir. I threw on, oh, did I max out the residence? Let's check. Let's check. I don't think I maxed out the res. There we go. Sorry, 5,053 HP. So her starting AP will be 28, attack 788, defense 6, spirit 29 when you're running some spirit gear. So we'll go ahead and talk about what we're running here. So this is just a full defensive build. You'll probably never run an entire magic resistance build, I doubt. Likely you're going to be running some type of a hybrid build, but you're definitely going to be wanting to be using that Smart Coat +5 on her for magic resistance. I threw on Whispers TMR here, but actually you can hit 100% magic resistance without Whispers TMR. As long as you're running Fenrir on her, as long as you're running Fenrir's VC, and you have the correct passive set for magic attack resistance, you are going to be able to hit max resistance with her sub Spellblade ability, which does give 38% magic resistance. So she's kind of a beast when it comes to magic resistance. And she also has access to Taunting Spell as well, which is lower AP than Taunting Blade from Paladin. So she's going to be able to spam that. She's going to be able to draw attention. She's going to be able to still have some resistance if your opponent has magic resistance penetration. And of course, if you wanted to go the spirit route on her as well, you could boost her spirit more than her magic resistance and try and go heavily on, you know, potentially countering any type of magic resistance or spirit resistance that you might have. You can kind of build her either way here. One of the great things I like about this is she also has 32 lightning resistance, which really makes her powerful against nibbles. It also makes her pretty good against upcoming units like 9S, for example, because while she is weak to piercing and she is weak to missile, that lightning resistance and her element type advantage being earth over them is really going to just kind of quash them down below her. Anyway, I hope this video was enough to show you guys that Christmas Vinera is actually going to be a very viable unit, and I hope that it lets you reconsider pulling for her, because as we are approaching Final Fantasy X, I keep wondering if Yuna is really as essential as everybody is hyping up. I think she's definitely a good unit, but I think a unit like Christmas Vinera, where you could potentially clear a raid and get like the best evasion gear in the game, might actually be more valuable for some players who are running evasion comps than actually going and getting a Yuna. Things to think about. I hope you guys are looking forward to our Christmas Victoria video coming out tomorrow. As always, if you do want to support me, please use my affiliate link, dig.gs/coins, or go to dig.gs/offer. It's literally one of the best ways to support me without actually giving me money directly. And I really appreciate all of you guys who use that link, because it does let me make a living and do this for a job. Thank you so much, everybody, and have a great rest of your day.